Oh, hey guys, welcome to Castle of Legends. Just thought I'd show you, I've got one of my previous videos I had started on the performance car, like the black performance car in the background. And I thought, you know what, I actually had this yellow car because it was actually going to be a test body. When I started painting the Stunticons, in particular drag strip, I actually painted him at this one at the same time. And I was trying to figure out how do I modify it. And I was looking at this Warhammer Space Marine that I had, and basically I had wrecked the end of the gun barrels with a drill vise at some point, so didn't really look any good. So I knew I was going to hack it up, so I thought, maybe I can use part of it as an engine, and try to make like some kind of a maybe like a sophisticated motor out of it. So this is me just trying to figure out how to mock up an engine and get it mounted on on the inside of the car. So I'm just kind of trying to figure out like how it's going to look once I got it all like glued to the base, and see how see how I can attach it, whether I glued it to the inside of the body itself, or right on the chassis. So I'm just kind of trying to figure out like, okay, how's this going to look? I actually thought maybe I'd snip away part of the hood area and just have like the entire arm there, so it looks like really like some kind of sophisticated turbocharged engine, and then I thought that might be a little too complicated. I mean, with these cars, the idea was supposed to be like a simple build, and then this yellow one was actually just going to be a test car for another project that I had in mind. So yeah, I'm just gonna take the the original black car. I actually put some silver on it with my silver marker. I still like to use this silver pen. Maybe I gotta stop like using it, just go back to using brushes. But it does actually help to create highlights and just additional details. Just kind of base color things. So sometimes I'm still a little lazy. I just kind of feel like using it and see how it turns out. But with the yellow car, I really like the red line wheels. I thought, okay, I'm just going to keep that, and then try to figure out how to use the this gun here, snip apart that piece there, and glue it to the chassis. So, and what I've done is I kind of like basically use some hot glue to secure it to the chassis, and then it's able to go like the back piece is able to stick through the roof. So I'll switch things over to another room here just to kind of work on some things. So I got some crazy glue. Had to go back out to the stores, even though it's kind of like a madhouse right now, to pick up a few things. But I decided I wanted to use this. This is like drywall, like filler tape. So when you're trying to fill a hole, like in a drywall piece of drywall, you can use that mesh. So I had quite a bit of it left over from a project in the house, and so I'm going to start using that for some of my cars, just simply because I have so much of it, and I could probably build a couple of thousand cars before I run out. So anyway, I pre-cut a few pieces, and obviously this is so much easier to do before we paint the car, but since I already had this car painted yellow, I thought, let's just see what what it would look like once I start painting over top of it. So I figure, okay, I'll glue these on. So you just get a little bit of, put crazy glue around the outside of all the edges, and then you kind of like pre-cut your piece of mesh to fit the shape of the opening, and then you secure it to you just put a little bit of glue around the edges, just like so. Don't have to worry about it being too. I think I ended up sticking my fingers a little bit, but it's bound to happen. And just smooth it in, kind of make it bend to the shape of the car itself, and I think it looks looks pretty good. Okay, so just basically just getting doing the same for the back as well, and at first I was going to put like a solid piece of metal here, and then I decided that couldn't get at the shape that I wanted, and I thought, okay, I'm just going to make, just for the sake of consistency, I'll put the mesh on all the open areas. I don't know. I lost the interior for this car, which didn't really matter because the fact that I was gluing the the entire Warhammer arm on the inside. But if I had the interior, I could have probably done something a little differently. But just put the seats and still glue the seats into the chassis itself. But you're not really going to see it on the inside of the car anyway. So gluing the mesh on is good enough. Okay, so you got all the other windows done, and now it's just a matter of getting the front windshield replaced by adding some mesh to it. Again, same process, just to put some glue around the edges, and smooth it out with your finger, and it should stick nicely. The drywall tape, drywall mesh is actually a little adhesive. Has a little adhesive on it anyways, so it does actually help to hold it in place. So if you remember exactly what side has the sticky part on it, it will just help you when you start using some crazy glue. So So here I was just trying to figure out, okay, what kind of weapons can I add to this thing? I thought, maybe I can use, I still haven't had a proper use for a Space Marine jetpack, I thought, okay, am I going to mount this? I just didn't want it to look like I took a Space Marine backpack and just kind of glued it to the car. So I don't know. I'm going to have to figure out a way to use them as some kind of a, like a booster or something like that. I mean, I think they look kind of neat, and I've got lots of them. So I thought, well, maybe, I'll find a good use for them. Maybe they'll just end up on some big model at some point. Who knows? So anyway, so I got I want to put a gun, like on the top of the car, and use my my trusty cutters here to trim off the gun pieces, and then just basically clean it up with a hobby knife. To now with the top, it actually already had like a small sort of a molding on the top, good for a mounting point. You may want to have that bare. Like, it's so much easier to do these like glued up when there's no paint on them, but in this case I didn't bother. I didn't really want to mess with the paint job yet, because it was supposed to be I have this idea of building I guess like a Tiger Force for my military unit. Once I get to that point, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna make the cars, all the vehicles look the same, and paint them all yellow and put some like black stripes and stuff on them. So I kind of wanted to see how this paint job would turn out. But as you can see from the picture for the video itself, I didn't go in that direction. So this is just going to be more of a tutorial on how to just paint a car over top of like an existing paint job without really, and then putting on the weathering on top of that without really, trying to scratch anything away or make any like strip any of the paint off itself. So okay, so I got got the top gun mounted with the crazy glue. I think it looks pretty good, and so now it's a matter of just trying to see. So I've got out some paint here. Now the idea was to paint on some brown and then paint the front white. And I'm gonna have to go back and look at what paint I actually used now that I think about it. So when I started painting it, I think now, thinking about it more, it needs to be painted over top of white first. Like, just have half the car painted yellow, and then the front half will be painted all white, and then use this brown to sort of transition between the two colors. So you have white in the front. I'll have white in the front, brown in the middle, or I guess near the front. And then, and I do apologize for keeping the car off to the side a little bit. I wasn't realizing that I didn't have it in the shot again. So I need to put like a little bit of a marker so that I know exactly where the car needs to be in the shot. So that's something I'll have to work on again. It's a little out of practice. But yeah, I changed to a darker color because I was thinking, okay, it's not dark enough. And, I mean, I kind of liked it, but it really wasn't what I was planning. And again, it needs to be over top of the white to make it look right, and more of like a flat color, and not this like glossy yellow. So at this stage of the game, I decided that I'm going to use this brown as a rust effect and see what the car will end up looking like if I just kind of went to town with painting the entire model with this brown paint over top of the more glossy yellow, and just to see what kind of effect it will have on it. So as you can see, it's easy to wipe off, so you can actually, make like some rust effect with it. From just using the paint itself, it does look a little rusty. It doesn't look not quite the same as using the spray paint over top of the salt, but still looks pretty interesting. And then I thought, okay, now I'll paint the mesh that I added all black. Again, it's a lot easier if you already have all the stuff glued on and then you paint over top. afterwards. But I mean, I've done a lot of cars that way, so now I'm trying to figure out just different methods. This is an example of building a car where, you may not have the ability to strip the paint off, or, might be just like a, young kid that just needs the paint and doesn't really want to worry about, using any kind of chemicals and stuff like that. So this is just a matter of, you can simply add your parts, and, if the paint job on the Hot Wheels car is good, you can paint over top of it, using some, brown paints and stuff like that. Okay, so I'm just going to keep, adding more detail here with the paintbrush, and let's see, and I'm just using my finger to just simply wipe off some of the excess, that I thought, well, I kind of like the yellow showing through, so kind of wanted to figure out how to make it look somewhat rusty, but in some spots, but still pretty good in other spots as well. And then just take some of that silver paint, and then just like being able to dry brush and go over some of the weapons and stuff like that as well, and go over again. I really kind of like how the roof turned out on this, being pretty rusty looking with the brown paint. Okay, now it's time to bring back out the trusty um, paint marker. I find it, I just like using it, especially on like metal, the mesh and stuff like that, and then also to bring out like, just draw on your own nicks and wear, like freshly made scratches and stuff like that. I just find it helps to bring out a little bit of contrast. I mean, I like making the mesh look rusty as well, but I kind of wanted to make it look like, it could be like freshly installed mesh, if that's a thing. And again, this is going to be sort of like almost like a quick build for these cars, like just really simple paint job, and then what you can do to make it look, pretty good. I mean, you can just spend hours on these things, and the idea is like to really just kind of do some simple stuff and kind of get it out there on the tabletop. So using the a paint marker like this saves a lot of time. Okay, so the yellow card is turned out pretty good. Now I moved on over to the original quick build, which I had done on a previous video, and I just now I'm just gonna kind of take it from where I had left off. After I did the silver, on the metal pieces with the paint marker. I mean, you're gonna see this will look a little off or a little funny painting this by hand, but I'll make a few mistakes here and there, and it does look a little kind of cruddy at first, but as you see, and it's kind of funny because I start with this blue color, but as I was painting it, I decided that originally it was actually just going to be a highlight color, but you'll see it just kind of the card changes, literally changes before your eyes on the video here, from black to blue to kind of completely something else at the end. Okay, so I've got the car pretty much covered in blue. I tried the best I could to not paint over top of like a lot of these silver areas, and so I made a little mistake when I was trying to paint the wash color for this. I accidentally spilled my paint, so rather than just kind of covering that up, I thought I'd just show you guys. This is how I had to end up putting it back in the jar. This stuff, I mean, it's pricey. It's not something that I like to waste, and of course, I did end up wasting quite a bit. The fact that it's like a stain and it just went right into all over the bottom of the plate here. So I just did not notice. I was completely focusing on painting and trying to keep the cars in line with the camera, so I accidentally just dumped all this and just tried my best to recover what I can. Okay, so this is how the cars like turned out with using the basically it's the Games Workshop wash, and the idea is like it really helps to make. It's kind of magic when it dries. It makes the stuff like anything metal, like all that silver that I use for the with the paint marker. I mean, it doesn't really matter with using the paint marker or paint or whatever. Once you put on this wash over top, it really does a great job of turning something into like a really rusty looking piece of metal. So I remember going into the store and just telling the guy what I want to do, and he just recommended using this particular paint, and I thought, okay, let's give it a try. And yeah, it was absolutely right. It's just it works quite well. So once you use like a wash on anything, pretty much, you want to go back to the original color that you started with, and then just try. This is me just kind of like taking the original color and then trying to create some highlights. Just dry brush, some of the paints back on. Maybe a little bit of dry brush, a little bit of actual like real brushing, and then once I got the car really kind of painted up, I mean, I thought it looked pretty good, but I decided I wanted to give it like, I was just going to use it as a green just in a small, just a few areas. But then, I don't know, when it ended up happening, like first it was just, I just wanted like a contrast color, maybe paint like one of the panels, just like a different color, just kind of make it stand out. But then I thought it looked kind of neat with the blue for some reason. And, so I just kind of kept going with it and, seeing what I can do to just make it look like it was kind of like it was a blue car, it was like a green car, so it's got a little bit of wear on it, overall. So just kind of keep highlighting it up. So this is kind of like what the end result was, and I don't know, these particular paint markers I bought. I'm still missing a set that I had bought previously. I gotta really find them. They're similar to my silver and gold markers that I've got, but I was trying to use these ones, and they're not very good. I was gonna try to color the front lights with this blue here, so that it looks like it has like glass headlights, but it just wasn't working out. In the background, there's actually from 3 vehicles. I actually picked those up today. I was out, went to like an antique market, my hometown, and got those 3 for basically $3. So I'm gonna build something with. Well, one's gonna be more of like an RC car, and then the other one, the big engine, nice metal engine there. I'm gonna may reuse that. It's just the engine in another project. I bought it just because of the engine. Not that I can use the car itself, which I mean, I probably could just rebuild the whole car, and I was thinking about putting a roof on it or something like that. So still might do that. So yeah, just take the silver marker once again, and pick out some of the details, make some highlights with the scratches and just parts of the engines. So we're gonna try to use this white paint marker that I got here, and I was gonna maybe it should draw like a name and then I thought, okay, maybe I'll make a skull, and then I don't know, it kind of became like a ghost as I was drawing it, and then I don't know, I think I left the marker on the table just for maybe 5-10 minutes, and it seemed to have dried up already, and I have barely used this thing. So it was something from the dollar store, so it's not a big deal, but it's kind of a bit of a drag that it's already dried out. But yeah, so I made this like little ghost, and then take one of my Sharpies, and then just kind of create some eyes. Now, one good trick for things like lights, like tail lights, you could use a toothpick. I found it a lot easier than using a brush, and you just take a bit on there, and you can just, as I've done here, pick out the tail lights. So this is the end result. I went back and basically with the windshield for the green car, I was trying to use the white marker, but now I realized it was dried out. So I used some light blue with a toothpick and just kind of drew. This was the first time I've done this, so it was just to try to make like highlighted glass. It just make the windshield look like glass. So I painted it all blue, kind of cover up my mistakes, and then went over it with like that, like a lighter color. And then the yellow beast has its custom engine sticking through the hood there, and with the rust effects. I mean, I didn't use any makeup this time. I didn't use any of the other, like some of the other methods that I've been using. This is just basically paint, and trying out just different experiments. And also the green car has like the gear that came from that CD, like a CD-ROM that I took apart, has like a Space Marine shoulder pad, and then it just has a couple little bits that I added to the back that like some metal plating, make it look a little more rusty, I should say. And the yellow car never got really any additional armor, just was basically a car with some mesh screening on it. And it was kind of like a fun build. With these cars, you can kind of take just a few parts that you got in your bits box and really make it come alive with using some paint. So here's like the yellow car. I mean, it turned out quite good. In the end, I was pretty pleased with just using just some brown. Really, I just used brown, black, silver, the paint marker, and I mean, really, the base color was just the yellow paint. So I mean, that was about it. And it kind of turned out pretty neat in the end. So yeah, I mean, this is the the end result. I thought they turned out pretty good. It didn't really take me very long. I mean, the video itself was, I mean, I edited a little bit, but you got to see just me pretty much working on the cars, and just kind of how the technique that I was using, which was basically just painting it and wiping it with my fingers. And then I like how the Warhammer piece turned out, like the arm itself just kind of sticking up through the the hood there made it look like an engine. I mean, I think it looks like an exotic engine. I was going to try to figure out how to put some piping in the back, something like that, but I never really got around to it. Should have actually put a little detail on the tailpipe for the yellow car, but yeah, it's fine. I mean, the way it turned out. And then the green one here, it's yeah. I mean, I like the Ghost. I think it was just a trial drawing on the car. So, next time I will kind of come up with a better emblem or something like that. And I kind of like how the back turned out. I used the paint marker for the tail. Like the tailpipes. Kind of highlight those with that. Just makes it easier than even trying to use a paintbrush, because you can make mistakes. And the wheels I didn't highlight them too much. I wanted them to look worn, if anything. So anyways, hopefully you guys like this build. These two cars. Decided to just focus on something else, instead of working on my Stunicons that I've worked on for the past couple of weeks. Kind of want to get back to building a few more other cars, and these are the end results. So anyways, thank you for stopping by. Hopefully this some of the painting done in the video is a great help for you, and thanks for watching. Please just like and subscribe. Helps a great deal.